everyone was anticipating a big number, right, in terms of Netflix, and the stock traded way up from the lows that we hit in the end of March. So there wasn't a lot of room for error. And again, it goes back to what you were saying in the beginning of the conversation, and that is that, could this just be a one blip quarter? And then the other issue out there, Brian, is how are they going to retain all these new people, right? Because some of the content is going to get pushed out in terms of creation. They even came out and said that their cash flow burn rate for 2020 is going to be about $1 billion. So, Brian, that's the $1 million question. How can they retain all these people? And did the stock already make a big move so there was very little room for any, upside because everybody was anticipating a big number?
Should Netflix raise prices? Do they have the ability to right now? It seemed like if there's any quarter they could do it, it would be right now.
Well, it's interesting, Brian. When I went back, I looked at the average revenue per streamer in the U.S. and Canada. It's now over $13. It's much higher than the consolidated average revenue they're getting, which is about $10.87. They just increased year over year. I looked at the revenues. It was up about 15% in Canada and U.S. So you kind of wonder how much more is a consumer going to tolerate future increases? You've got, and you guys have talked about this, you've got the HBO Max coming on board in May. You had tremendous success in the launch from November with Disney Plus. So you got all these other online streamers coming on, and they're offering some of them, like Apple, at $4.99 and Disney Plus at $6.99. So are they going to be able to repeat in terms of being able to pass on these average cost increase to the subscribers when it's become that much more competitive?
Mm-hmm. You do wonder, though, and when the lockdown ends, and it will at some point, does Netflix and maybe a couple of other streamers, do they almost become a utility? I mean, everybody complained about their cell phone bills years ago. Nobody does now. Will Netflix become the same way? You just kind of own it. Your credit card gets whacked for the $14 or $15 a month, and you don't even think about it.
Well, I think so. I mean, it's not a huge cost, too. I mean, the numbers we're talking about, and I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I think you could potentially have multiple, different vendors that you're working with. So you could, Netflix, you could have Disney Plus, you could do HBO Max. So I agree. I think eventually people aren't going to spend as much time worried about the cost. There seemed to be a little bit of uprising after the last increase that they did. But it's not a huge number. So I would agree with you, Brian. I think it may just become something that we all accept like we do our cell phone bills.
And you're not selling. You still own the stock. You've owned it for years, and you're holding on, Dan.
Yeah, we're still holding the stock. It's not a huge position for us, Brian. I mean, obviously the multiple is very high. But, I mean, it obviously after this quarter, tremendous execution. Obviously the stock is pulled way up. It may not be the time to purchase new shares for investors that are watching, but it's still fundamentally a solid company, and they still have the highest content expense of any of the other vendors. It's going to be around $19 billion. And of course, they have all these proprietary shows that they hook people on. So they're still going to be viable going forward.